Conventional wisdom says the M4 Convertible is the compromise choice. It's heavier, it's less rigid, and less focused than the coupe. It's the M4 you buy when your wife insists that she wants to enjoy the sunshine. In fact, automotive journalists have been peddling this narrative for decades. Convertibles are for posers, coupes are for drivers. But what if I told you with this 2025 M4 Competition xDrive Convertible, BMW's created something that challenges much of what we think we know about convertibles? What's it like? Buckle up, my friends. Let's go for a drive. I'm your host, Brian Makse, racer, lover of driving fast, fun things, and on this channel, you get reviews for drivers from drivers. A lot of us automotive enthusiasts are guilty when it comes to looking at convertibles with a little bit of skepticism, and sometimes for good reason. At BMW's M division, well, they've never been known to leave well enough alone, and for 2025, they've promised that this M4 convertible is going to deliver a driver's car experience with the added bonus of unlimited headroom. And before we get into what this is like to drive, let's have a look at it in a little more depth. For 2025, the M4 gets a mid-cycle refresh, and it includes some new headlamps, the laser tail lamps from the M4 CSL, as well as some interior updates and a bump in power. Yes, indeed, the twin-turbo S58 3-liter inline-six with its 3D printed cylinder head core makes 523 horsepower at 6,250 RPM. That's up 20 horsepower from last year. Makes 479 pounds of torque from 2,750 to 5,730 RPM. Transmission's an 8-speed automatic tuned by M. Of course, the xDrive all-wheel drive is tuned by M, and there is a rear-wheel drive mode. Steering's variable ratio, variable assist, also tuned by M. Front suspension is the double-joint struts, 5-link at the rear, adaptive dampers, and all of the suspension calibrations are tuned for the convertible. Big brakes at the front, 6-piston calipers up there, a single piston at the rear. Wheels and tires are 19s at the front, 20s at the rear. Curb weight is 4,300 pounds, which is 327 pounds more than the coupe. All that weight goes into the convertible top and its mechanism, chassis bracing, reinforced A-pillars, and different front and rear underbody and wheel arch aero. Did you know that 80% of you are not subscribed? Yes, it's true. 80% of you are not subscribed. I checked the data. So if you like the content on this channel, do me a solid, hit that subscribe button, make sure you like this. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. Now back to your regularly scheduled episode. Behind the wheel, this is all modern BMW, and it starts with a fantastic interface to this car. I've got an excellent seating position, and that starts with this superb seat. It's a wonderful blend of support and comfort, and I'm absolutely perfectly set up here behind the wheel, but this seat has plenty of adjustment. I love the way BMW does seats, and they know how to do them right. I'm seated nice and low in the chassis, and then there's plenty of adjustment in the steering column as well. So I'm absolutely set up perfectly here behind the wheel. The steering wheel is a modern BMW wheel with more rim thickness than it probably needs, a flat bottom bit, and a red ring at the top. It is 2025, so we do have BMW's big screens here. I've talked about them at length in previous episodes. There's a lot of upside to these things, starting with the instrument cluster. This is very clear, very legible. Love the way it displays the information that I'm looking for. The infotainment system is one of BMW's latest. I don't think it's iDrive 9, it is 8. It's still natively complex. How I remedy that situation is by running it on wireless CarPlay. There's a wireless charger here, and my phone is nice and safe under that cover. In terms of visibility, well, this is a convertible, so you can see in basically every direction. In terms of spaciousness, for you and your passenger, no complaints whatsoever. The M4's cabin is spacious, comfortable, and of course, without a roof, you've got that unlimited airiness. But in all seriousness, lots of room for you and your passenger to be comfortable. When it comes to the back seat, well, that's very much a non-story because those really aren't seats for full-size humans. I did sit back there for a little bit. I really don't fit behind myself in the seating position. Back seat, best reserved for packages, small children, and Labrador retrievers. Given that this is a convertible, trunk space is compromised. If you're lucky, you might fit 2 carry-on size suitcases. This interior is an interesting dichotomy, especially in 2025, because a lot of things have migrated into these screens. So in terms of physical controls, they're very minimalist, but in terms of material quality, well, that's definitely maximalist. It's like BMW decided, let's make everything you feel amazing, and everything you need to use on a day-to-day basis be a little bit frustrating. On this channel, we are drivers of science, and in the name of science, given that this has launch control, we should test it, shall we? Now, I've pre-configured M2, so it's doing all the right things, so let's switch that on. Foot firmly on the brake, and that's my left foot, and then my right foot's going to go to the floor with the gas pedal. Let's see what happens. Preparing launch control active. Oh, yeah. Wow. Incredible for an open air motoring experience. This is so fast, and it just keeps pulling. Incredibly quick. 0 to 60 in maybe 3.5 seconds, and it's not just all the power, it's how the entire drivetrain works together in harmony. Top speed, well, that's a thing. Standard configuration, 155 miles an hour. Get the M drivers package, that's 180 mile an hour top speed, more than quick enough. And as I mentioned earlier in the episode, there's a lot of unique aero that goes along with this M4 in convertible form just to dial it in. This thing is just an incredible engine. It's got an incredible amount of torque, an impressive amount of horsepower, revs all the way to redline. That's one of the joys of this motor. It's so flexible. It's more flexible than Gumby. You can just cruise along on the torque, or you can ask it to work harder and run each gear all the way to redline. It's happy doing either of those things. With this all-wheel drive system tuned by M and the electronically controlled limited slip diff, this does an incredible job of putting down power. And on top of that, all of these systems are configurable to a certain degree. They all talk to one another, but the way that you can customize the drive modes and the responsiveness of this M4 is second to none. With my M1, I've got just a regular, more aggressive street mode, but I've got M2 set up so that it's rear drive, and what that means is systems are basically off, meaning it's just you, this M4, and the open road. And on top of that, there are 10 levels of traction control, so if you're doing things like high performance driver training, track days, that might be useful. But at the end of the day, on the open road, those things are a little bit of a safety net. For the most part, the way this xDrive is configured, it is definitely tuned for rear drive bias. You really don't feel much of the all-wheel drive system working, only when you're asking for maximum acceleration, as we did a couple of minutes ago. And when you ask for that, well, it delivers. While this is the first time we've experienced the M4 in convertible form, we have experienced this drivetrain, and the transmission is just as stellar as it is in other M4s. It's tuned properly, does rev match downshifts, ultra fast shifts, and then you have manual control over the gearbox as well, and it's incredibly responsive. And if other manufacturers need to take notes on an automatic and how it should work in a performance application, well, this is it. And sure, Tesla owners might say their cars are quicker, but who really cares? They'll never experience the glorious S58. It's kind of like comparing a Kindle to a leather-bound first edition. On a rational basis, when it comes to dynamics, we should expect all of those negative consequences of this being a convertible to rear their ugly heads, but that's not quite the case. I've never driven an M4 convertible, at least to the best of my knowledge, and I've been examining this for the last few days. I've never experienced any cowl shake whatsoever. And no matter whether I'm throwing this through the corners, testing its on-limit balance, or just enjoying it on the open road, I haven't felt any chassis flex either. And I think that speaks volumes to the amount of engineering that BMW M has paid to turning this into a convertible, and this is very well resolved. Since we're talking about handling, I think we should find some corners. What do you think? I think we should. Let's roll into the corner, on the brake, down one gear, off the brake, turn in. Wow, the suspension is soaking up these bumps. Tires are staying in contact with the road surface. This is just fantastic. Everything comes together in the corners. As you can see, this road surface is not smooth at all, but this chassis is soaking up all the bumps. Tough corner here, off camber on the exit. Perfectly balanced. Just brilliant. Wow. This is impressive. Wow, that steering is incredibly precise. I can carve the perfect line. I've got precise control over this M4 with the steering. And the steering is strong on center, and as much as I love the steering, there's not a lot of feel or feedback that comes through the steering system. And even if you put it in the sport setting, that just adds some heft or reduces the amount of assist. It doesn't add any feel at all. I don't know how they do it, but I can feel exactly what's going on at each of the 4 contact patches. And that helps me adjust the attitude of this M4 in any corner, in any kind of attitude. And whether I'm adjusting that with the brake, with the throttle, with the steering, it's incredibly responsive. And on top of that, we have to talk about on-limit balance. I did test this in a couple of different situations to understand this chassis balance when it's on limit, and it is incredibly neutral. I can adjust the attitude perfectly in any situation. Power on oversteer, no trouble at all. Want a little rotation on corner entry with some trail braking? No problem at all. Powering out of corners, well, the entire driveline does a great job of putting down power and balancing it appropriately so that it's neutral on corner exit. And when it comes to brakes, well, I absolutely love these brakes for a bunch of reasons. They're very powerful, but this is BMW's brake-by-wire system, so the amount of effort is adjustable. So there's a normal and a sport mode. What the sport mode means, there's a little more pedal effort required, which makes absolute sense in a high-performance car like this. It absolutely works for me, and in fact, I'd love an additional level. So BMW M, please deliver me a Sport Plus brake level, would you? This upsets a lot of cars. What I've got is the dampers set in comfort for my M1 mode, mostly because the road surface in this part of the world is terribly rough. So we need those dampers to absorb those road imperfections, and that oftentimes compromises body control, but that's not the case here. Body and wheel control with these adaptive dampers is simply excellent. And then the other side of that equation, if we're rolling around in comfort mode all the time as I am in my M1 mode, ride quality is also superb. And this road surface is not great, and it doesn't upset this M4 at all. And the brilliance of this car's dynamics isn't that it's just good for a convertible. It's like BMW has created something that's forgotten that it's a convertible at all. How do you spec yours? Well, I have some thoughts. What you are looking at is the 2025 BMW M4 Competition xDrive Convertible, or Cabriolet as we call it here in Canada. It's finished in BMW individual manufacture Laguna Green Metallic, and this has the ivory white full merino leather interior. And I know you're looking at these 825M wheels throughout this entire episode. These are stunners, and thankfully they're not the traditional black as we'd expect to see on a modern BMW M car. Base price in the US is $96,200, and I'm not quite sure how BMW individual manufacturer paint is priced, so I'm guessing an as-tested price of $101,575. In Canada, base price is $110,200, and as tested, it's $128,050, and that includes $5,000 for this paint option. And BMW's pricing structure, sometimes it seems like it's developed by the same people who try to convince you that a $200 bottle of wine is better than a $50 bottle of wine. And as somebody who's married to a sommelier, I definitely know the difference. Now, I know you're gonna spec your M4 convertible or cabriolet in the colors you want, but the one thing I'm really impressed with is the 825M wheel option. These things are stunners and such a breath of fresh air in a sea of black wheels on just about everything. As with any M car, there is one mandatory option, that is the M drivers package, for two reasons. Number one, it uncorks the speed limiter, that's cool, but more importantly, gives you a day of high-performance driver training at BMW's Performance Driving School, which is BMW's nice way of saying, we're going to teach you how to drive this before you become a statistic. My verdict? Well, after spending a week with this M4 convertible, one thing is real. Those 327 pounds that this carries over the coupe, well, they're definitely noticeable. But a lot of that weight goes into maintaining the structural integrity of the M4. The real story is how BMW has engineered around these traditional convertible compromises. The chassis is incredibly stiff. You'd be hard-pressed to detect any cowl shake or any flex from the chassis, even on rough roads. The all-wheel drive system delivers all of its power, including that additional 20 horsepower this year, so effectively that the weight penalty becomes almost irrelevant. And 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds, that's hardly what I'd call compromised performance. In the increasingly crowded field of six-figure performance convertibles, the M4 distinguishes itself by being the most unhinged while simultaneously being the most usable. In a lot of ways, this is kind of like a German Hellcat convertible. It's absurdly powerful. It's full of character, but then again, it's got better interior materials and the ability to take a corner without immediately filing an insurance claim. There's no question in my mind that this isn't a compromised version of the M4 Coupe. It's a multi-sensory driving experience, and I absolutely love it. Thanks for hanging out with me today and having a look at this 2025 BMW M4 convertible, or cabriolet as we fancy Canadians have to call it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, you're not new, you know what to do. Smash the subscribe button, turn on your notifications like this, and as always, sharing is caring, so please share this with your friends, especially on Reddit, because on Reddit, they really need to see reviews for drivers from drivers. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below, lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merchant. BMW still makes some fine manuals, and alas, this M4 convertible is not available with one. Pour one out, my friends. Anyway, thanks again for watching. We'll see you again next time, and remember, cars don't understeer by themselves, not even BMW M4 convertibles. And if you've hung around this long, well, have a look at this drivetrain with a manual transmission in rear drive only configuration in the BMW M3 sedan we drove recently. I think you might enjoy that episode. Thanks again for watching. See you again next time.